Welcome to Screams. I'm Arthur, your guide through the unnerving, the unexplained, and the utterly terrifying. Turn down the lights and lean in close, because what you're about to hear might just follow you into your dreams. Some places don't just hold memories, they feed on them. Elderbrook Marsh was never meant for the living, and those who've wandered too deep have never come back the same. What you're about to hear is not folklore. It's a warning, a real account from someone who dared return to his roots, only to find something had been waiting for him all along. This is the story of the Hollow Man of Elderbrook Marsh. I never should have returned to Elderbrook. After 28 years, I convinced myself it was just another town in the Carolina wetlands, shrouded in morning fog and memories I could bury beneath adult logic. But when the letter arrived, yellowed and crinkled with age, I felt the rot of something older awaken in my chest. It wasn't just the handwriting that stirred something long dormant. It was the name, the Hollow Man. I thought it was a tale we scared each other with as kids. A wetland wraith with a bark-like mask and hollow eye sockets, who whistled through the reeds on still nights, feeding on those who wandered off the paths of the marsh. The old folks spoke of him only in whispers, said he was born of silence and sorrow, a spirit that bloomed where grief festered, faceless and forgotten. But my grandfather, who raised me after my mother disappeared, didn't whisper. He warned, "Never hum at night." He'd growl, voice lined with age and tobacco. That's how he hears you. That's how he finds you. I never understood why his voice trembled when he said it. Not until years later when I realized he'd stopped speaking altogether after sundown. No TV, no music, just the hollow sound of the wind in the grass and the creaking of the house by the marsh. After his death, I left that place and never looked back. Until last week when a parcel arrived. No return address. Inside, a brittle journal with a leather cover I hadn't seen in decades. My grandfather's, and scribbled in the final pages in unsteady ink. He's real, and he's not done with us. I returned to Elderbrook under gray skies. The marsh greeted me like an old wound, quiet, damp, and clinging. Houses still leaned like drunkards into the cattails. Wood-rotted, porches crooked. The town was smaller than I remembered. Or maybe the years had stretched my memory in ways the land refused to age. My grandfather's house stood still, preserved by distance but aged by neglect. The wallpaper peeled like old skin. The floor groaned under my boots like it recognized me and wasn't happy about it. On the mantel sat a faded photo of my mother, holding my hand beside the marsh trail. She disappeared in 1985 after going for a walk along those very reeds. They never found her body, but I remembered something no child should have seen. A shape, tall, thin, wrapped in shadows and muck, watching. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in his old chair, the journal open in my lap. One passage was underlined 3 times. He doesn't walk where there is noise. He comes for those who suffer in silence. That line clawed at something in me. I remembered my grandfather locking every window at dusk. I remembered him smashing the radio when it wouldn't turn off. I remembered the hum that crept from the reeds when everything else was still. Not wind, not frogs, a hum, deep, throaty, inhuman. Sometime after midnight, the lights flickered. The air turned heavy. I heard a slow shuffle on the porch. Then silence, no insects, no wind, just silence so dense it hurt. I held my breath, every instinct screamed not to move. A creak, another, then a knock. No, a drag across the door, nails, bone. I wanted to scream, but something old and ancestral in my bones told me to stay silent. The hum returned, closer. It was then I realized something chilling. It wasn't coming from outside, it was inside the house. I didn't move, not an inch. The hum vibrated in the walls like a breath through hollow wood. Not a tune, but something older, like an ancient voice that didn't use words, only grief, the kind of sound you feel more than hear, and I felt it in me. I sat frozen in my grandfather's chair, gripping the worn journal like it might protect me. The dim light from the hallway cast long, trembling shadows across the living room floor, and that's when I saw it. A figure, tall, lean, a silhouette with no face, only a smooth curve where eyes and mouth should be, drenched in what looked like moss, decayed cloth, or the reeds of the marsh itself. Its arms hung too long, brushing against its knees, fingers that looked like broken twigs twitching in slow spasms. It stood at the end of the hallway, still, watching. I didn't dare blink, and then slowly it raised a single bony finger to where its lips should be. Shh, a motion that made my skin crawl. In an instant, the figure vanished into the dark, not walked away, not faded, vanished like breath in winter air. And then the hum stopped. The silence returned, but now it felt different, heavier, like something had been opened and couldn't be shut again. I stayed in that chair till the sun crept over the marsh, light filtering through the broken blinds like thin safety. I should have left. I meant to leave, but I didn't, because part of me needed to know, not just about the Hollow Man, but about my mother. And something in my gut told me the two were connected. I spent the morning combing through the journal again. The last dozen pages were feverish, almost like my grandfather had written them during a breakdown. Scribbles, circles, repeated words. Don't hum. Don't remember. He hears regret. He grows in silence. She's with him. That last line stopped me cold. She's with him. My mother? There was more. A map. Drawn shakily, it marked a part of the marsh I didn't recognize, a trail that led beyond the old bog where no one went anymore. The locals used to say even the birds avoided that part of Elderbrook, the place where the trees grow too tight, where sound doesn't carry. That afternoon, I packed a flashlight, the journal, and a voice recorder. I had no idea what I was doing, only that something wanted me to come, something that had waited decades. I followed the journal's map, cutting through knee-high weeds and willow branches until the trail dissolved into mud. Beyond that point, everything was still. No birds, no bugs, only the squelch of my boots and the dull thud of my heartbeat. Then I found it, an old structure, half sunken into the swamp. It looked like a tiny church or shack, long swallowed by the marsh. Its door barely clung to its hinges. Strange symbols were scratched into the wood, marks that pulsed faintly in my vision. Inside, it smelled like rotting wood and something else, something sweet like decaying lilies. There, carved into the far wall, were 7 names, and one of them was my mother's. I felt a tear trace my cheek. Then, softly, behind me, I heard it again. That hum, low, familiar, painful. I turned, and in the doorway stood a figure shrouded in reeds and shadow, arms open as if in welcome. But it wasn't the Hollow Man this time. It was my mother. Or it looked like her. Her face was pale, her eyes sunken, but she smiled. Not with joy, but relief. Then she mouthed something I couldn't hear. So I pressed record. Her lips moved in slow rhythm. At first, I couldn't catch the words, but through the recorder's playback, distorted and muffled, they became chillingly clear. He wants your sorrow. Then the air snapped. The figure of my mother, if that's what it really was, jerked backward into the darkness, like yanked by invisible strings. A whispery shriek muffled by the swamp's hush echoed in the shack, and I ran. I don't remember half of it, just mud, water, thorns. I burst back into daylight like a man born again, lungs burning, heart in my throat. Behind me, the marsh swallowed all signs of the trail. The recorder still playing, the hum still there, and layered beneath it, whispers, dozens of voices, all low, all weeping. Back at the house, I played the tape again, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. The last moments on the audio were wrong, like the sound had been bent, and right before the tape cut off, there was a name. Harold Wick. It wasn't familiar, but something about it dug in. I searched my grandfather's library, flipping through every old local history book I could find, and there he was. Harold Wick, 1883, a minister, banished from Elderbrook for preaching rituals of the old world, something he called the Path of the Hollow Spirit, claimed that through sorrow one could hear the voices of the dead, that in perfect stillness they speak louder than the living. Legend said he built a chapel in the deepest part of the marsh after the town burned his church to the ground. Sound familiar? Wickie was never seen again. What disturbed me most weren't the facts. It was the theory. Wickie believed grief was a beacon, that in grief we open a door, and those who know how to listen, like him, can step through it, which made me wonder, had my grandfather grieved so much over my mother that he called something to him, and had I done the same? That night, I tried to leave, tried packing my things. I was halfway down the road when the hum started again, but this time through my car speakers, through my phone, even when it was turned off. I slammed on the brakes. In the rearview mirror, I saw the marsh, and something moving through it, something tall, arms too long, head tilting, watching me. I ran back to the house. For days, I stayed indoors, lights off, praying, but on the fourth night, the door to the basement creaked open on its own, and the air changed. Cool, damp, familiar, the same smell from the shack in the swamp. Drawn by instinct or something older, I descended, each step deeper, each breath harder. At the bottom, behind old shelves and half-rotted boxes, I found something hidden, another door, a door beneath the house. It led to a tunnel, cramped, moldy, carved by hand, it seemed. The deeper I went, the more I heard them, the voices, sorrowful, pleading. The Hollow Man was not a single spirit. He was a collector of memories, grief, and souls too broken to leave. And in the final chamber, I saw them. Shadows, dozens, and in the center, him. 7 feet tall, blank face, arms like willow branches, and in his chest, a hollow like a well, spiraling endlessly down. From that pit, the voices called, and at the edge, I saw her, my mother. She turned, no longer monstrous, just tired, empty. She said only one thing before the dark closed in again. I stayed to protect you. Then the Hollow Man stepped forward, and everything went black. I awoke in the living room. Morning light streaming in, no sign of the tunnel, no smell. The recorder was gone. Only the journal remained, open to a final page that hadn't been there before, scrawled in trembling ink. Grief makes us hollow, but hollowness echoes. I left Elderbrook that day, but some nights in the silence, I still hear the hum, and I wonder, did I bring a piece of him back with me, or did I never leave? Grief is a heavy thing. We carry it, bury it, sometimes even try to outrun it. But what if grief is the very thing that opens doors best left closed? What if someone or something is listening on the other side? If you ever find yourself near Elderbrook and you hear a low hum in the stillness, don't follow it. Just keep walking, because the Hollow Man is still out there, waiting to echo back what you've lost. Thank you for listening, and remember, some stories are meant to be told, others are meant to be survived. If you made it this far, you're one of us now. We are here for the regular listener, not just for the subscribers. But if you felt the chill, if the story stayed with you, then hit that subscribe button, because the next tale might be darker, and you won't want to miss it.